Hello. So round 4 was played today, and I don't know if all game are already finished. What about Hare Krishna Shiro? It was something long. Rapport draw. Krishchuk Isipenko draw. Hare Krishna Shiro. I want. So what is this? This position, it looks like totally drawish. Okay, so it looks like draw again. Доброго вечора. Приємно, що мене слухаєте. Yes, remis. Okay, so if I just open it, Hare Krishna Shiro, we can start with this. So a castle. Usually Shirov prefers to play line b5 and bishop c5, but probably today he wanted to avoid preparation of his opponent and decided to play another line. So castle, and now main black idea is to play marshal after c3, and white has several moves not allow d5 line, so a4 or h3. D4 is possible as well. After d4, black has choice between d6, c3, bishop g4, or knight takes d4. Knight takes d4, e takes d4, e5, knight e8, c3, c5, c takes d4, c4, bishop c2, d5, knight c3, knight takes d5 is threat. Knight c7, knight e2. It's very complicated game. Okay, so a4 played Hare Krishna, very popular move. It was quite popular before, in time when Kasparov played this line against short with white, and now this is popular again after World Championship match between Jan Nepomniachtchi and Magnus Carlsen. So before played Shiro. Magnus in one game he played bishop b7. In other games he played rook b8 line. But Shirov played d3 b4. It's another very popular move. There are many games from Levon Aronian here in this line. Levon usually played b4, and now white has important choice between d3, what played Hare Krishna, and also d4 is possible. For example, d4, d6, d takes e5, and now black can take with knight or can take with pawn as well, so matter of taste. So d3, d6, knight bd2, not the main move, more popular is a5 here, to prevent knight a5 after bishop e6, knight bd2, now queen c8, the main move, then black, white can do bishop c4 or knight c4, for example, and plan of black is more or less h6, bishop e3, rook b8, h3, rook d8 to prepare bishop f8 and knight e7 in future. Of course, this is not forcing line, but many games was played in such a way. So knight bd2, knight e5, rook e8. So usually in this position, black playing bishop e6 or c5, but Shirov decide play rook e8. I don't know if it is novelty or this is what this was played, but I have seen rook e8 first time. Exactly in this position, of course, idea rook e8. And bishop f8, it's quite standard, but in this position, I don't remember such games. So c3 played Hare Krishna, rook b8, knight c4. Also possible to consider d4, but after d4 probably bishop f8. Just possible. We try to defend everything. So, I hope everybody can hear me and see me well, so we can continue with the game. So knight c4 played Hare Krishna, another logical move. Knight takes c4. Thanks for confirmation. Bishop takes c4, b takes c3. I don't know if necessary to do it now. B takes c3, maybe c6. Hello, maybe c6 immediately is possible, but probably the difference can be that if black not taken immediately, white can try bishop d2, and if take with bishop, another type of position. So Shirov prefers not give his opponent such a choice. This c6, quiet move. Probably black wants to prepare d5 somehow. Another natural move is bishop f8, of course, but anyway, black is not prepared yet to play bishop e6 because a6 pawn is hanging. So white can do something. h3 even possible. Bishop g5. Knight g5. It's also possible to consider, but I don't see any special achievement after rook e7. If knight g5. So c6, h3, d5 played Shirov. Not necessary. Black could play something solid like h6, for example, to prepare bishop f8 and not allow knight g5 or bishop g5. It's quite logical move. d4 is possible, but I don't know how strong is d4 exactly in this position. Bishop f8 doesn't work because white can take on e5 on d8 and knight takes e5, but queen c7 is totally possible. And next move bishop f8 with solid position. Good evening. Buenos noches. But Shirov decide immediately start active play in the center. He played d5. So probably he wants to invite something sharp like this. What is this? If queen takes b8, d4, maybe this is promising for white. I'm not totally sure, but also white need to consider this idea. And I don't know if there is any way to escape this knight, but I don't know. So e5, for example, is possible. If knight d5, there are no other square for knight. If knight d5, queen takes d3, and white is attacking d5 pawn. So it was option knight takes e5, but of course this is extremely sharp option, and also d takes c4 is not only move here. Black can consider queen c7, double attack, bishop and knight, and if for example, e takes d5, c takes d5, bishop a2, black can take on c3 immediately, or probably start with bishop d6. So this is something very sharp. And Hare Krishna preferred more quiet game. Bishop d6, bishop g5, bishop e6. So what is this? So if e takes d5, I think c takes d5 is hardly good because knight takes e5, and if queen c7, bishop takes f6 and knight g4. So after e takes d5, bishop takes d5. I think it's idea of Shiro, and black position looks like playable. Knight d2, for example, is possible. It's an interesting game. And then white has ideas with bishop c4 or knight e4. So it was totally playable for white, but Hare Krishna preferred queen c2, just solid move. h6, bishop h4, so white still have some pressure because their pieces there is more harmony in white pieces than in black ones. Bishop c7. Nothing special, but certainly for the big column. Okay, there are several plans, of course, totally possible. Take on e6 and play rook a b1 and to fight for this line. It's one of logical plans. Türkçe, evet, Türkçe biliyorum. Konuşabilirim. Türkçe konuşabilirim. Çok iyi değil çünkü biraz unuttum fakat anlıyorum. Evet. Yes, bishop e6 and rook b1 was possible plan, but I don't know is it strongest plan or not. Also, it's hard to say if white has something concrete after, for example, rook takes b1 and queen c8, because it's not so easy to penetrate, but slightly better for white. Black wants to play knight d7 and try to defend this position. So rook e d1, queen e7. Another possibility, of course, was just take and now to play knight d2, for example. The idea knight c4. The problem is that after knight c4, queen c5 is possible. So queen f8, for example, if knight c4, queen c5. Like this idea. So let's see. Bishop takes f6. Okay, so probably okay, it's not necessary move, but probably Hare Krishna afraid that somewhere black can play g5 and then after bishop g3, knight h5. And of course, it's not so clear because white has even knight d4 idea. For example, if image white doing something rook d2, I don't know if it's useful move, but just illustrates. So this here knight d4 looks like interesting move, but okay, it's even this it's not so clear because rook b7 and then e4 is hanging, but probably black is totally okay here. So bishop takes f6. So Hare Krishna tries to play for minimal advantage and not allow any complications in this game. Rook d7, rook e7, rook d3. If he imagines that white will transfer knight on c4 without difficulty, slightly better for white, but at the moment black trying to prevent this. So queen b3. I'm not so sure about queen b3. Is it best move or not? Black has choice. a5, for example, looks quite logical to avoid x-ray because Now white queen attacking black pawn a6 via rook. So if, for example, rook d7 is losing the pawn. After rook takes d7, queen takes a6. So from this point of view, a5 looks logical to put pawn on the defended square. But Shiro tries to play in more active style, and suddenly rook a d1. Yes, that's right. So somewhere black can have idea bishop a5, but the question where this idea can be good, because black cannot totally focus his attention on queen's flank, because white can do knight h1, knight f5, and create some threats and another flank. So after queen b3, suddenly rook d1. So white is giving pawns, and after queen takes a4, there is choice. Rook d7 immediately is possible, but also maybe knight h4 is logical idea to prepare knight f5, queen g4, something like this. I don't know what exactly was plan of Hare Krishna, rook d7 or knight h4. Both of these moves looks like quite attractive for white. Now, for defense from attack, bishop on c7, it's a little bit out of place. So it's better to have bishop on f8. So Shirov decides to take pawns. Very risky, and played queen b2. Of course, white can play this, and with more or less same idea. So after check, play king h2 and prepare knight h4, rook d7. Okay, it's complicated, but because black always can take pawn or a4, and it's necessary to calculate if this attack enough or not. So it's not easy question. f5 after f5, of course, it's possible, but what to do after knight h4? So now not only f5 square is weak for black, but also g6 square. It's tempting for white knight. How to? Okay, probably there are some. Ah, no. My idea was rook d7, but now queen c4 check and rook takes d7, so it doesn't work. So f5 is very risky, and probably in this position it's just a bad move, because white has too many targets for attack. So rook d2 was possible, but Hare Krishna decided to play very practically, so he exchanged the pawn. And now he has no strong threats in kill slot, but okay. So, after queen takes a4, you mean here? What's this? Knight h4, g6. I don't know. Queen g4 looks tempting. Idea knight f5 somewhere, or knight takes g6 even somewhere. If h5, queen g5, and again black should consider threats like knight takes g6, knight f5, or rook d7 somewhere. So practically white has good chances. Okay, maybe with correct defense, black can have good position, but it's dangerous. So this queen takes a6, and now g6. So white has no attack anymore, but pawn a4. So if we match endgame, I mean, if queens will be exchanged, so white has better chances and endgame. Now rook d7, not strong anymore because black has contraplay against f2 pawn. Bishop b6, and now queen c1 check, or queen c2, so f2 pawn is real weakness for white. If I am real, okay, so why you are giving me such a stupid question if you can see my face? So is it difficult for you recognize if it's me or not? Okay, so bishop b6, so rook d7, not so good, so queen e2, understandable move. So now f2 pawn is well protected and white is preparing rook c2 and rook takes c6. Queen b4, rook e2, rook d8. Rook c1. Of course, it's possible to take, but after takes somewhere queen b1. Black has idea, and for white it's not so easy to activate his knight because black can have contraplay. For example, if knight d2, rook d7, if knight c4, rook d4, if knight e5, rook takes e4. So king g7 in which moment? King g7. Here, king g7. It's possible, but maybe white will play rook c1 anyway. Rook e6, okay, it's more or less similar to the game. Shirov wanted to have his rook on d8. Так, я живу у Львові. Okay, king g7 was possible, but what Shirov did is possible as well. So it's not like a critical moment. So queen c2, white trying to exchange queens and then activate and then push his a pawn. So a5 is threat, so Shirov immediately blocked this, and tactical explanations that after rook c5 he has bishop b6 and white obviously cannot take on e5 because bishop c7. So g3. Now white is prepared for rook c5, but f5. So Shirov started his contraplay. Frankly speaking, his position looks unpleasant, but Hare Krishna played rook e2 now. Yeah, okay, so I need to think about this. So rook, in general, rook on a2 is has good position because this rook support white passive pawn. But concrete problem how to improve the position. If, for example, takes on f5, after rook c5, the problem is black has rook d5. Rook f6, rook f6, here rook f6. Rook f6, knight takes e5 is possible. What is the idea after knight takes e5? So just Pawn f2 is protected by rook. But even if not knight e5, I don't see any special idea after king g2 as well. So rook f6. No, f5 is a good idea because black is fighting with rook c5. Now, if immediately rook c5, black can take on e4 and contraplay starts. Now knight takes e5, bishop b4. It's unpleasant. Suddenly white is in danger, so rook c4 only possibility. Rook takes e5, rook takes b4, but okay, this rook endgame should be drawish. Okay, maybe white is slightly better anyway, but also bishop b6, rook takes c6 also. Also rook d5, it's interesting. And now only what white can do is take on d5, and after c takes d5, it's white knight in unpleasant situation, so at least white has no any chances for win. What about knight g5 after f rook c5, f knight g5? Interesting question, but okay, so rook endgame. It should be draw, I think. For example, takes, maybe king f7. I don't think that white has real chances for win here. For example, if rook a7, king f6, a5, rook d6, if a6, rook d2. Just on time, white cannot to promote his pawn. It's drawish. Okay, so, but after f5, I like another. So I don't like rook e2 by intuition, because I like my rook on a2 and also probably rook c2. It's more attractive. But by intuition, I like very much king g2 to play. Just wait in move and to see what black will do. And my next move can be rook rook ac2 or rook e2, and okay, also I don't know if king f7 it's possible, because after rook takes c6, f takes e4, it's possible. So this is not a primitive blunder, but now rook c5 is possible, and now if f takes e4, knight takes e5 with check. So king g2 I like, and I think white is better here, because there are many active ideas. Black has many weaknesses, so. And also rook c2, it's quite tempting move. Immediately attack pawn c6, why not? So at least this position not seems me like an easy draw for black, so white has real chances. But rook e2 I don't like, because now pawn a4 is not so dangerous as before. But okay, it's move 38. We need to attract our attention that probably Hare Krishna have a lot of time to think. So if I suppose that if it would knight h4, okay, knight h4, f4, so it's possible, but not so clear. But I like my knight on f3, because knight from f3 attacks pawn e5, so I want to improve my pieces. So my rook on c4 good, my knight on f3 good. So which pieces I can improve? Rook a2, but okay, rook on a2 quite good. So, but king is better to have king on g2. So because of this, I like king g2. Flexible move, and on next move I can consider rook e2, rook ac2, or even rook b2. It depends what black will do. So rook e2, and now took. Rook c e4. I don't know why not to take with another rook. It's also question, but move 39. Okay, probably rook e4. It's more tempting than because. But okay, so now white is winning pawn, so this is understandable decision. But after c5, black has some contraplay. And move 40. Hare Krishna finally took the pawn. Okay, so it's not so easy because, for example, if knight takes e5, rook d4 is necessary to consider. Takes, and d3 threat is coming, and so now the difference between king on g2 or king on h2. If you match that white king already on g2, it's possible to play king f1 and enjoy with pawn up. But exactly in this position, suddenly white has no defense against d3, and probably black has strong counter chances. Maybe black is even better. For example, if f4 d3, if rook e3 d2, if rook d3, rook c6. Sorry, rook b6. Or maybe bishop b4 even stronger to prepare rook d6. So it's hola, muy bien. Hola, Miguel. So now in some variation, white can be even in danger. So, of course, this is not forcing line. After rook d4, it's not necessary to take on d4 immediately. It's totally possible to consider f4. It's like so. But okay, so this choice Hare Krishna should make on move 40, and I don't know how much time left in his clock. So he took rook a1. Shirov is suffering, but trying to create contraplay. Rook e4. Played Hare Krishna. Okay, so now it's move 42, so Hare Krishna has time to think. Hola, puedo saludar supuestamente. Rook e4, I don't know. Maybe rook c2, it's another interesting idea. Just to stop c5 pawn, attack the pawn. I want to take. And if bishop b4, if bishop b7, even if bishop b6, I can consider many moves. Even knight c4 is possible to consider, or knight d7. If bishop b4, I can take now, and now rook takes a4. I can come back and then try to block black pawn on c4 square, and white has excellent winning chances, it looks like. But rook e4 he played. King g7. Now less convincing because black didn't lost pawn g6. So after rook c2, now king g6. Okay, maybe possible. Now king g7, but now rook takes c5, and after rook takes a4, rook c6, and it looks like very unpleasant endgame, probably losing. So rook e4, knight d3. So he took another pawn, but after bishop b6, suddenly for white it's not easy to defend everything. Again, we can see that king would be much better on g2. Now f2 pawn is hanging, so rook c4 is bishop c5, and rook takes a4. It's theoretical draw. So knight a6, king f7, and now again white has tactical problem because after f4 like can do something like, for example, rook a2 check, now probably bishop f2, so at least not so easy. So if king g2, bishop e1 check, king f3, rook a3, it's possible. And after this, white lost the piece. So white can. I just want to illustrate that white cannot defend against check with his rook. So after bishop f2, g4, but okay. After bishop g3, black has contraplay, so not so easy. Okay, probably white still have chances. So at least f4 was principal way. But also, for example, this, and check. And big question how white can improve position. King f3, rook a3. Now if king g4, bishop f2 looks extremely unpleasant. If king g2, just perpetual checks. So now looks like white has no idea to defend all pawns. So bishop takes knight f4 he played, but now it looks like drawish because black is only one pawn down and all pieces are active, so it's drawish. It's draw. Okay, so what can I say? So Hare Krishna outplayed his opponent and was very close to win, but in final stage of the game he didn't play accurately and Shirov survived. Okay, so this play knight d7 after bishop b6. In which move? What number of move? What number of move? Bishop b. Here knight d7. Here knight d7. Yes. Okay. Bishop f2, rook e7, king g8, knight f6, king f8. What now? It looks like nothing. It's draw. So after bishop f2. Okay, maybe white can play g4, but it doesn't look that serious chances to win in this position. Okay, so this is not stalemate, so king is quite active. Black king is attacking white pawns, and white has no squares g3, f3 for his king, so this position is drawish. Okay, so Dominguez lost against bishop c5, castle, knight f6, d3. More concrete line is d4 here, Koltanovsky gambit, and now black has choice. E takes d5 leads to Max Lange attack, and bishop takes d4, it's another complicated line, and now white has f4, d6, takes, and bishop g5, or immediately bishop g5 with idea f4. Sometimes it's the same, if f4 and f takes e5 later, but sometimes there is difference. Okay, this is another line called, but knight takes d4 is bad according to theory, because after knight takes e5, white is bad. So d3, d6, c3, a5, rook e1, standard moves, h3, bishop e6, bishop b5. If I would white, I would prefer probably takes knight f1 to prepare bishop e3. Okay, surely it were such games. This is different pawn structure, but in general I prefer white in such type of position. And after bishop e3, bishop takes e3, knight takes e3, it will be very similar structure to the game, to the one game in Merano World Championship between Anatoly Karpov and Viktor Korchnoi, which ended draw. In the final, Karpov has two knights up, empty board. So it was quite a long game. Okay, black has some pressure on f line, but after bishop e3, so white can improve this, and white, in general, white need to play slow. So bishop e3, exchange bishops, g3, king g2. Somewhere it's possible to prepare d4, but it depends. So it's not like that white has any concrete plan. So, but if white plays in prophylactic style, it's slightly better. B3, I have seen B3, but I'm not sure it was exactly in this position. Maybe yes, maybe not. Okay, there is such idea B3 as well, but I don't know how good it is. So bishop B5. So after bishop B5, it's not easy which opening was played, Italian or Spanish. Bishop c4, it's Italian, but if bishop on b5, it's Spanish. Anyway, white lost tempi, and I don't know what is a4. Yes, a4 is possible as well. Totally normal move, but after a4, for example, the question, what is point of a4, for example, if black is just waiting h6? Because after bishop e6, f takes e6, I'm not sure that a4 is so useful move for white, because if somewhere to push d4, e takes d4, c takes d4, black will have b4 square. But okay, it's totally playable as well. You are right. Now, queen b3, it's not strong, because white can never take on b7, but more logical to take and play knight c4, again with plan bishop e3, and exchange bishops and play more or less same style as I explained it before, but only I'm not sure that e4, a4, it's very useful for white in such type of. Okay, now with knight on c4, there is idea to stop b5, so without a4, if to play knight c4, black has b5 option, so I prefer it to play knight f1 to avoid this, but with a4, knight c4, yes, and next move bishop e3, playable position. For example, knight h5, bishop e3, knight f4, bishop takes a7, maybe also possible something like king h2 to prepare g3, something like this, I mean. But okay, so bishop b5, knight e7, and now it's a little bit strange. So white lost tempi, so he played bishop b5, and bishop on b5, it's not in good position, because somewhere black has c6 with attacking the bishop. So we will try to understand what was idea of Dominguez, because my reason seems quite obvious. I don't think that Dominguez didn't understand this, but okay, so he played d4 and he played bishop a4 to avoid c6, so knight h5, standard idea. So black wants to create some threats on queen's flank. So knight is coming to f4, and from f4 not only will attack g2 and h3, but somewhere knight d3 can be positional threat to exchange good white bishops. So knight f1, knight f4, knight g3, e takes d4. It's quite typical plan in these positions. So, but probably Vishy Anand was first who played this idea. So I mean, if c takes d4, d5 is plan of Anand. Not exactly in this position, but like idea. And if e5, if not e5, black wants to take on e4 and play against isolated pawn. If e5, black wants to play f6 and try to organize contraplay against pawn d4 and against pawn f2, probably in some variation. So this is Anand's idea in action. So knight takes d4 was choice of Dominguez, and bishop takes d4. So this is really original. And c takes d4 played Dominguez. I don't know why not take with queen, but necessary to check tactic probably. Okay, so queen takes d4 looks very logical from positional points of view, but I don't know what is knight take g2. It's necessary to check. So, king take g2, also knight h5 it's possible to consider. But knight h5 maybe not good, because knight e5 and this. And if knight f4, bishop takes h3 and queen g4, and it looks like okay, very dangerous for white, probably just winning for black. So okay, we can consider this, knight h4 check, king e2. If king h1, knight f3, so something like this was idea of Wensley, I suppose. So queen e3, for example, this, queen h4, something like this. And if king f1, bishop h3, king e2, bishop g4, and then knight f3 is coming, so it's looks like black threats are very unpleasant. So probably Dominguez underestimated such idea. So now he took this pawn, but black played d5. Okay, but position is unclear. So white has two bishops, but black knights are good as well, and somewhere black can try to organize attack in queen side. In king's flank. So after e5, for example, f6 is possible to activate rook f8. But okay, also white has his trumps too, but it's very concrete play. So, for example, if f3 is obvious idea to take this pawn, black has idea queen h4, and after knight f5, bishop takes f5 and queen g3. It looks like pretty unpleasant for white. So, what else? Queen f3 he played. I don't know if it is the best move. Of course, it's nothing special, so white can play, for example, bishop c2, d takes e4, bishop takes e4, bishop d5. Okay, so isolated pawn, nothing special, so it's white can try just hold this position, for example, this, queen f3 somewhere. So isolated pawn, but pieces are active. For example, this knight e6, rook a d1. Black cannot take immediately d4 because queen e3. Queen f3 after d5. Queen f3 he played. Queen f3 we will consider. Bishop c2. Yeah, bishop c2 was a normal option, but of course white is not fighting for advantage. But okay, if white wants to play more or less safe, so bishop c2 is solid choice. But queen f3 probably more ambitious because white is trying immediately to attack, but queen f6 played wisely, and now knight takes h3. It's very concrete threat, so white needs to react somehow. Bishop d1. Dominguez. Now queen h4. So a very interesting play. Not immediately queen h4. I don't know why immediately queen h4 was both after queen f3. So it's not obvious where white bishop is better on a4 or on d1. So, hello. Bishop d2. Okay, so bishop d2 is possible, but of course it's possible to play knight f5 here. Very concrete move. D takes e4 looks like forced. Knight takes h4. E takes f3. Knight takes g6. F takes g6 not possible because bishop takes f4 and rook takes e6. So knight takes g6 only move. Bishop takes f3 c6. Looks like drawish, for example, after bishop e4. Okay. So hard to believe that Dominguez didn't see the simple variation, but probably he estimated his position like better, so, and he's still playing for win. Bishop d2, c6, rook c1, f5. Let's listen. Very concrete movement. Now okay, anyway, doesn't look like something very dangerous for white, because if white doesn't... so there is danger if e5, knight takes g2. It can be dangerous, and then f4 is coming. Okay, of course, it need to calculate this line carefully, but looks dangerous somehow for white. After king takes g2 also this, it's possible with idea knight h4. But okay, if white wants to play without special risk, totally possible take on d5, and after bishop d5 to play bishop b3, exchange this, and okay. White is not fighting for advantage, but I don't think that white is worse here. So after e takes f5, it's I don't like the white position, so it's a very strange choice. So e5, okay, e5 knight takes g2. It's necessary to calculate by deep. Okay, maybe queen takes g2 is possible. f4, so I don't know what is this. Knight h5, bishop takes h3, so white under attack. After queen h2, rook f5 is coming, but so if rook c3, rook g5, so knight g3, but black has no obligation to take immediately, so they can try rook f8. So this is something really dangerous for white. Of course, black has some risk too, because they gave a piece, but okay, black are attacking. So, but after e takes e5, so it looks like white has just inferior position without contraplay and without any material benefit. So e takes f5. It's I can not explain why Dominguez chose a bishop. So this very natural move, and he played queen g3. Queen g4, queen f6 looks unpleasant with idea rook g5. So queen g3 he played. Now queen f6, bishop g4 is possible, but black just took and knight d3. So bishop c2 only move. Aha, so okay, so now I understand. So it looks that he just missed rook f2 here when he was thinking in this position. In his calculation, he had an illusion that knight d3 it's not possible because bishop c2 and missed rook f2. So now everything is clear. Okay, it's okay. Probably white can play something like bishop e3, try to defend, but rook f8 is coming. So in practical game, it's unpleasant. So I think he calculated this line, and queen g3. So I am right. So after rook f2, yes, it's very unpleasant feeling to miss such a trick, and now very bad for white. Yeah, very nice tactical trick, rook f2. Okay, so I want to think if it's possible, if still possible to fight somehow. Okay, after if this is forced, e takes f5 wasn't forced, so e takes d5 and bishop b3 was totally normal and enough for equality for white. So after e takes f5, okay, so he planned to play knight takes f5 and bishop g3. Probably this is bad, but now it's not easy to understand what is better because black has some threats. Okay, it's possible to consider another moves. For example, bishop c2 we can consider. I hope that knight takes h3 it's not winning because queen takes h3, queen takes f2, king h2. So at least I don't see, or king h1, I don't see immediate win for black. So if rook g5, bishop g6 was my idea. Maybe it's possible. And if rook takes g2 check, king f1. Probably. Black, okay, so rook takes g2 check, so king h1, rook takes f2 looks bad for white, so king f1 is forced. And now, what can I say? Black has several options. First of all, rook takes f2 is possible, and check, and this. Maybe this is draw, but or maybe not. King h1. If queen h2, no perpetual. Queen f3 also, and knight h3. Black is winning the queen, but what is this? And also many pawns. So black is much better. Maybe even winning. Of course, it's. More wise decision for white it's to play king h1 and agree to draw. So, but okay, we need to check if black has another opportunities. Rook f6 is simply possible, for example. But after rook f6 now queen g3 it's much better than in the game, at least. And okay, so it's playable position. So probably after bishop c2, black has nothing more than draw after rook g5. And also after rook g5, probably white can consider g3. If knight takes h3, king f1, but okay, it's but after, okay, maybe it's possible. Of course, it's shaky. Black has even rook f8 here, so it's not easy to play in a tournament game. But okay, it's possible to calculate bishop takes g6. So rook takes g2 is forced line. Black has no choice, and king f1 and. The question if black has something better than rook takes f2 check and draw. We can consider rook takes g6 option idea to organize attack. If now queen takes f4, queen takes h3 and rook f8 is coming. But if bishop takes f4, rook f8 is unpleasant, and bishop g3, rook takes g3. So queen takes f4 is forced, this, and now rook e8, so, not rook e8, rook f8. Rook e8 probably is possible as well, but king d1. So rook f8 was my idea, and now it's okay, probably losing for white. So queen f3 is coming. Queen e3 is not possible because rook e6. Rook c3 not possible as well because of queen h5. Rook h1 maybe, but queen e6, queen e3, queen g4 extremely dangerous for white. Maybe losing. So here it's not easy to find a safe way for white. But okay, so at the moment I need 10 minutes break. I need to drink something, and I will come back in 10 minutes. So I am here again. Please confirm that everybody can hear me and to see me. Okay, good. So, okay, maybe not so easy for white already after f5 if they doesn't want to allow e5, knight takes g2. Because if e takes d5, bishop takes d5, it's probably not in easy equality because after bishop b3, king h8 is strong. After bishop takes d5, knight takes d5, and white has problem with his terrible bishop on d2. And I had illusions that knight takes f5 is possible, but now I am not sure about this. Not because rook takes f5 and rook f8. This doesn't work because bishop g5 is coming. And after rook takes f5, bishop takes h4. Black cannot take because of mate. But after knight takes f5, just queen f6. It's pretty unpleasant. And g4 is only move. And after g4, even this move, so this position. Okay, if this, maybe even this move. If rook e5, g6 is idea. So, but if not take on f5, so white still on trouble because pawn d4 is hanging, and what to do with bishop on d2. So it's. At least I cannot estimate this position like easy equality. Okay, bishop c3 it's possible to play, but black is better here. So probably after f5 white is already in trouble. Important that bishop takes f4 is not possible because f takes e4 is coming. So, okay, so e takes. Now, okay, maybe it's possible to defend somehow this position. For example, okay, queen g4, queen f6. It's very unpleasant because rook g5 is threat. So not easy. So Dominguez calculate this position and he had illusions that everything is okay after queen g3, but he totally missed trick rook f2, and after rook f2 it looks like very bad for him. But now it's not easy to propose good alternative because black has many threats. Maybe there is something, but I don't know. Queen g3, rook f2, and this is totally bad already, or it's possible to fight somehow. And for example, he took on d3. Why? Bishop c3, probably knight takes c1 is probably, and knight takes a2. And anyway, white is pawn down, and probably not so big chances to survive. So bishop e3 not possible because rook takes. So this is already bad for white. So bishop d3 he took, and now white has too many weaknesses. Bishop f5 now. Yes, it's possible, but okay. Black can take on d4, can take on b2, can play rook f8. So okay, white has chances for draw. Yes, probably bishop f5 was the best chance. Anyway, only white's advantage in this position is bishop is stronger than knight. Also, it's possible to consider rook e3 here, and after rook takes b2, rook c3, rook c2, for example. But now rook b4, so maybe rook b1. But okay, not only pawn down, but okay, maybe bishop f5, some chances to draw, but anyway, black has clear advantage. So in rook endgame, black rook is very active on d2, so b2 pawn is hanging. So very difficult situation for Dominguez. Rook e1. If rook f1, rook f8 is coming. So black attacks king h7. Good move. So king just coming to h6 and white cannot do anything. So it's pity lost for Dominguez. Okay, but how I can explain? So in this position, he start to play some provocative moves. From queen f3 he started, and after f5, okay, probably e5 was the best, but knight takes g2 and very unpleasant attack. Probably there is some defense, but in practical game it's very unpleasant. So e takes d5 is just worse position. But okay, my prediction is that he have seen f5 and had illusions that he is totally okay after queen g3, what he did in the game, but just missed rook f2. Nice trick which Wensley found and won the game. Okay, so what else? Grishchuk played today against Yesipenko. We will consider this game now. So d4, c4, knight c3, e3, a3. During last time, this system became popular against. And knight f3 suddenly. It's not so common choice. Usually everybody playing knight e2 here. We have seen this in game Pragnanda against Dubov, right? I mean b6, e4, knight e8, castle, bishop a6, something like bishop e3, e6, f4, f5. It's Pragnanda Dubov, knight g3, so queen b3 instead of e3, queen, okay, queen b3 here. Okay, queen b3, it's old line. Bogolyubov played against Alechin, but after c5, d takes c5, knight c6, black has nothing to worry about. After knight f3, knight e4 is coming. For example, bishop d2, knight takes d2, knight takes d2, bishop takes c5 is an equal game. Okay, black has other options as well. So queen b3, it's okay, it's playable for white, but not real attempt to fight for advantage. But okay, knight f3, it's a surprise. So for me, usually, and it's quite strange move because, for example, if compare with slide castle, bishop d3, c5, knight f3, knight c6, there is this theoretical line. Kasparov played against Podomarev. Podomarev played d5 now, but if castle, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, d6. So now if black is playing d6, we have same position, but instead of castle, white played a3. So it's strange somehow. It should be good for white, for black. But okay, from another point of view, probably after e4, e5, d5, and then h3, white can play without castle at all. And then, for example, this h3, and then Next plan can be g4, probably something like this was idea of Grishuk, I don't know. Anyway, d6 is very natural for black, but Yesipenko played d5, and it's transferred to another theoretical position, which usually appear from this move, or d5, castle, knight c6, a3, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, and he took immediately on c4. Another option is queen c7. More flexible move, because black has no obligation to take on c4, but if white wants, they can take on d5. And after e takes d5, knight h4, for example. So I lost one game against Rustam Kasimdzhanov in this line with black. So d takes c4, queen c7, and now h3 played Grishuk. Another popular option is bishop d3 after e5, queen c2. And for example, after rook e8, it's possible just to take everything and play f3. And another option is very sharp. So e4, it was game Ivan Sokolov against Garry Kasparov. E takes d4, c takes d4, bishop g4, e5, bishop takes f3, e takes f6, knight takes d4, bishop, king h8, this, bishop b2, rook e8, something like this. And it was important improvement, but I don't remember where exactly. So Kasparov played rook h8, king h1, rook takes h7, rook g1 check, king h8, rook g3, and then rook g1, and he lost. But it was important improvement. I need to remember where. So rook a d8, g takes f3. Fortunately, Tavadyan played with black, but how it was? Fortunately, I remember that somewhere f5, but where? Ah, here king f8 was correct move. Yes. So Kasparov missed this idea. So after rook takes h7, he lost. So king f8 was correct idea, and now queen is attacked. So if queen e4, black has f5. So if bishop takes d4, rook takes d4 with idea rook h4. So after king f8, everything is okay for black, but after rook takes h7 is losing. h3, it's another theoretical line, and black has two plans. b6 is possible, e5 immediately also possible, with idea to develop bishop on f5 and then rook a d8, something like this. b6, bishop b2, e5. So it's strange somehow. So if e5, more logical, looks like. Yes, I know that Botvinnik loved to play. So one of idea Botvinnik was, for example, if d5 is 3 castle, for example, knight f3, d5 to play a3 now, and is this after c5 to play bishop b2, if knight c6, bishop e2. And now, what is the difference? That instead of bishop d3, but bishop e2 probably better idea to avoid knight a5 and after c takes d5, c4. For example, if bishop d3, this idea is possible for black. So bishop e2, an idea that instead in this theoretical position, instead of castle, white has bishop on b2. And if black is doing standard plan, queen c7, white can try bishop e2, and after e5, d takes e5, knight takes e5, c4. This was idea of Botvinnik in this position. It's really better for white. Or if rook d8, queen c2, same idea. If e5, d takes e5, and c4 is coming. So, yes, so it's correct. b6, bishop b2, e5. Bishop e2, so it's more or less standard position, slightly better for white due to bishop's advantage. Rook e8. So black is trying to defend. Knight h2. I'm not sure that this is the best. Knight d2 looks quite attractive idea, and probably on next move white can consider knight b1, knight c3 ideal. Why not? Okay, but this is different plan. So knight h2 played Grishchuk, knight b8. Breyer system in Nemtso, India. Knight g4. Another possibility is knight f1 and to prepare knight g3. If why not? So it looks like logical. Okay, maybe knight e4 was planned by Yesipenko, but after knight e4, bishop d3, it's possible. So not so pleasant. If black continues his plan, knight g3, knight wants to go to f5 and g6, it's bishop on b2, it's always dangerous. Okay, maybe it's possible to play g6, but it's risky somehow because of possible problem in long diagonal. But Grishchuk played another plan, rook e6. Suddenly, bishop e4. Okay, bishop e4 immediately is not threat because rook takes d7. But the question what white can do. Black just defended carefully, and for white not easy to achieve any progress. It's possible to consider queen g5, for example, but okay, the queen g5, black has probably even knight e4, maybe even king f8 is possible. So queen d3, queen c6. First threat of black in this game. White still slightly better, but Andrei trying to defend carefully. Queen d6 not possible because knight e4. And if queen d7, bishop c6. Black doesn't want to exchange queens because queen on a5 is more active than queen on c2. Now they exchange e4. So f takes e4, it's risky somehow for white, maybe because queen c7 and then queen g3, something like this. Not clear that white has advantage here. After f4, f6 positions blocked somehow, and white cannot really attack nor e4 nor c5. So queen d5 played Grishchuk and offered draw. So quite good defense from Andrei, but I have feelings that probably Grishchuk didn't realize all of his chances because after the opening he had a very pleasant position, in my opinion. Okay. So, before to consider next game, I need to be sure that everything is good with my stream. Can somebody confirm? Is it possible to play king f2 and g4 at the end? You mean here, this, and then g4? Yes, it's possible, but black, for example, king e7, if g4, even g5 is possible. Also bishop a4, bishop b3, it's possible contraplay for, but okay, it's possible to block this flank and then try to play bishop a4, bishop b3, or bishop e8, bishop f7. So I don't think that white has chances here to win. Okay, so rapport played. Black certainly can play b6, knight c3, bishop b7, something like this. If e4, for example, e3, bishop b4, if knight g2, knight h5, it's possibility. But it's another game. So d5 played, c takes d5, e takes d5, e6. But of course, after bishop b4 check, idea of white, knight d2, not knight c3, and then to prepare a3 somehow. I don't know if there is some theory here, but I suppose that if c5 idea can be a3, takes. I wanted to tell knight f3, but I don't see what to play after d6, because I cannot take the pawn back. So after c5, I don't know what is the idea exactly. Question. Okay, but surely he should prepare something. Bishop d6? No, bishop d6, knight e4. Bishop d6 is losing move. Knight f3, c takes d4, and looks like black is totally okay. Knight takes d4, knight c6, something like this. Okay, so, okay, it's logical. Okay, maybe just e3, I don't know. Who knows, maybe just e3. This idea to take this pawn. Okay, but in the game d5, another natural move, cd, ed, e3, bishop d6, so totally normal. Of course, black has other possibilities. But if to play bishop b5, necessary to consider queen b3. For example, if knight c6, queen takes b7, knight b4, bishop b5 is possible. Probably it's not so good. e3, knight e4, yes, I see knight e4, but what is continuation? Knight e4, knight f3, my idea. And after g5, I always have bishop takes b8 at least, so I'm not losing the piece. And I'm prepared. Queen a5, now queen a5, a3 simply. Queen a5, I'm not afraid either. Here I'm better. Okay, but after e3, black can play something more solid like cd, ed, d5, for example. Okay, so in the game we have something different. Bishop d3, castle, knight c3, and more or less classical position, but white has no knight on f3, so they can think about plan knight g2 and then f3, e4, bishop g4. Standard method in such type of position to play b6 and then bishop e6, exchange bishops to play this position. Bishop g4, he played queen b3, knight bd7, knight c6 is another option, of course, totally logical. and then e7, probably it's not as well. Maybe e7, some rook, bishop e6 looks a little bit passive, more natural bishop h5 to prepare bishop g6, but probably there is concrete reason. g4, bishop g6, bishop takes g6 and g5. So this what was Wojtaszek afraid. By the way, I'm not sure that this is such a strong idea. For example, knight e4 is possible. If queen takes d5, well, black can just take and play c6. And knight e7 hardly possible, and if knight goes somewhere, knight takes g5 is acceptable position. And if knight takes e4 and queen takes b7, looks like risky for white. Many moves, maybe even rook e8, maybe c5 also possible. So bishop h5 looks like reasonable alternative, but it requires concrete calculation after g4. So probably Wojtaszek doesn't want to do it. So after bishop e6, knight f3. But now white's position is more pleasant. So nothing special, of course. c5. Okay, so he changed structure, so it's not Carlsbad structure, but isolated pawn and good version for white, because a dark color bishop are changed, so pleasant. Knight e2, of course rook fd1 is also possible here. Okay, knight e2 natural. Pleasant advantage for white without contraplay. Only I'm not sure that probably was better to exchange one pair of rook, for example, to play rook c1, rook c8, this. Now play rook d1, maybe. Not totally sure, but it's possible. So Richard decided to keep all rooks on the board. Is that everything okay? With stream, I mean. Everybody hear me and see me. Sometimes I need to check it. Knight e2, because other plans it's possible. Rook e1, for example, possible, with idea to prepare rook e2, rook c2. It's totally possible. Knight e2, okay, not necessary. a6, knight d4. Okay, so white just waiting. Okay, position is solid. Queen a5. Now bishop a4 is threat, so rook a5. h6, queen b4. So a little bit strange plan for me, but it was choice of rapport. Queen d1, queen e2, normal plan, and then rook fd1. Okay, wait, now not so clear. g4, d4, h5. So knight c3 instead of knight d4. Knight c3, okay, probably bishop e6 simply. Black can play it. d4 is idea. So hard to believe that white has real chance to attack pawn d5 seriously. So Radek exchanged h-pawn, so it looks like white has only minimal advantage. Now even black has pawn, but okay, still some pressure for white, but black defended accurately, and Rapport was not able to create Serious problem. E4 he played also. If rook b6, rook c5. And then rook b5 is coming. E4. He is preparing rook b6 now, because now bishop is protected. Rook endgame again, extra pawn, but it's not possible to win rook endgame. Old rule of Saveli Tartakov. So it's draw. Okay, so after the opening balance. Okay, he won a title of World Championship in Fischer game. Yes, Fischer. He won it also. Okay, I don't know. Probably he will. He is quite young and talented. He works a lot. So he has time. Okay, so rapport Wojtaszek we considered. We did Aronian. So queen a4, knight bd7. Another option here is c6 and b5. And then bishop b7. So queen takes c4, a6, queen c2. Armenian system. Another system is c5, and usually white not allow b6 and bishop b7. For example, if castle b6, there is no problem for black at all, because next move bishop b7 coming. If knight d4, knight e5. Knight c6, knight c4, knight d8, knight d5, knight c3, king d8, knight d5, bishop b7, knight e3, bishop takes g2. Of course, not knight takes e3, because bishop takes b7. This is totally equal. So after c5, usually white is playing something like queen b3, for example, not allow b6, knight e5 immediately. So a6, it's another system. Black is prepared for b5. White not allows. Now b5 is risky, because knight e5 or knight d4. And then knight c6 is coming. So c5, by the way, this is theory, queen c7. It's also theoretical move. Idea to prepare b5 or b6 immediately. b5 or b6 is wrong, because knight e5. So bishop f4. I remember bishop d6 was played here. There were some games, but queen a7, for me, this is novelty. But okay, logical one. Black wants to play bishop b7. So d5, principal way, and a4, white is fighting for initiative. b4 is possible, but of course white has many active ideas. Maybe e4 even is possible for white. Consider also rook d1, so many ideas. But as I know, Levon played this move very fast, so very likely it was preparation, at least from Levon. I'm not sure how well prepared it was with it. So bishop e7, I mean this bishop e7 and queen b6. So these moves Levon played very quickly. Bishop b7, queen e4. Black has piece up, but cannot save it. This position, no big chances to win. Rook f8 played Levon. Solid choice also. Queen takes e2 is possible to consider as well. Of course, white has tricks. For example, if bishop g7, king takes g7, rook e1. Now black can take immediately on b2. Also, they can try to play firstly rook d8. It looks like drawish somehow. But now queen b7. After queen b7, rook b8. And if rook e1 immediately, black has idea queen h5. Of course, white is playing without any risk, but I'm not sure that white has more chance, something more than draw. But okay, rook f8, so probably Levon thinks that there is no reason to calculate sharp variation with queen takes e2. So, without Hikaru against Bakro was draw in French defense. I didn't analyze this game yet, but I will do it later. So now I'm after rook f8. Okay, white has a small advantage and very likely can appear 4 against 3 rook endgame. In future, bishop c3, a5. Now queen takes e2. It's maybe losing, maybe not. I don't know. Okay, we can check. So queen takes a2. White has idea rook e1. Now black cannot play with queen because rook takes e7. So rook d8 is only move. And queen b7. Queen b7, rook b8. So okay, probably it's and queen d7. So this is direct win for white. Queen b7, rook b8 only move, and queen d7. So queen takes a2 is blunder. Losing the piece, losing the game. A5 played level. E3, e4, queen b3. Black preparing to exchange queens. A3. Drawish, even without pawn c4, this is easy draw according to theory. For example, if image this position, so according to theory, there is no chances at all because, for example, if black can allow white almost everything, for example, this, sorry, for example, even this position, white cannot do any progress, only not rook e2, okay, maybe this. To have rook a5 after rook c6. So this is strangely enough, but with such pawn structure, probably even more easy to defend than with normal. No, this is not chances now. This is totally drawish. But okay, of course, in the game, Levon had no reason to give c4 pawn, but of course he knows this theory that black can do draw in this endgame without any problems. Agreed. Yes, double pawns are good for defense here. So what was desired? Okay. Okay, so it's not that I can win this, it's probably somebody can lost, especially in very short of time. But objectively, this is draw. I mean, this game. Okay, so Nakamura Bakro, again a3, we can see. So according to theory, main moves are queen d2, of course, and another move, knight e2. Vasilin Topalov played knight e2 with idea to play c3, and next move, if queen b6, queen c1. So there are several games of Vasilin Topalov. And okay, a3, there is theory to prevent queen b6. And after b5, probably white has something else there is no obligation to play queen d2. Probably knight e2 is possible to play, for example, immediately, because now black has no idea queen. Okay, queen b6 is possible, but queen b6 is not attacking b2 pawn. If queen b6, white can play c3 or g3, for example. So something like this. a3, it's possible. a3 already played Yesipenko against Bakro, so Nakamura decided to repeat this line, but Bakro prepared improvement g5. It's very concrete idea. So, but necessary to understand what he means after natural g3. So, why not g3? Yes, thematic, but g3 is also thematic for whites. And okay, so I didn't analyze this position, so I want to understand what was idea of Etienne. If, for example, takes, queen h4 check, bishop f2, it's possible. It's not possible, it's only resolvable move, because okay, king d1, king e2, it's hardly good, but bishop f2 looks like possible, and after knight takes d4, bishop takes, knight f3 check, king e2 or king d1, this. And maybe rook g8 now, something like this. But I don't know, is it good or not. For example, bishop d3, if rook g2, knight e2, what is this? But, okay, if there is some other ideas, my knight is going well, yes, but I don't see any other ideas after g5, g3, probably, this endgame. Bakro wanted to play. Okay, maybe there are some other ideas, but I don't see, because white is prepared for long castle. So if allow long castle, g5, g3, it will be in favor of white. So probably this line, probably okay in this endgame, nothing special. After knight f8, for example. Because black has control g1 squares can be important, but okay, it's complicated. Looks like slightly better for white, right? But probably with some precise move, black can equalize it. Okay, so surely Etienne prepared something against g3, and g3 is the most natural move, because knight f3 it's a less natural move. d4 played Bakro. Okay. Engine says totally fine after rook g8. You mean here rook g8? Okay, and why is totally fine after bishop d3? What is engine recommendation? Knight f8 or what? Or rook g4? What? So, or rook g4, bishop g3, h5 maybe. No, bishop e2. Okay, so engine says that. Okay, so engine, but knight f3 played. Rook g2, rook g2, rook g2, and if knight e2, knight f8 or what? b5. Okay, this is engine. It's difficult to fight against engine. But yes, okay, rook is active, so bishop takes h7, not threat, so bishop b7. Okay, totally possible that black is fine here, but it's not obvious from human point of view. Okay, so knight f3 played Nakamura, so less natural moves than g3. Now, yes, for sure he prepared this, not maybe, but for sure. d4. Also possible to consider this queen c7, this idea. Just take the pawn and white cannot refute it immediately. Castle, knight e5, because if rook e1, knight d3 check is coming. But king b1, of course, correct move, and now rook e1 is threat. Not so easy to understand. This. Okay, it's far from obvious. For example, rook f8 is possible to prepare f6. White has compensation for the pawn, but okay, it's totally unclear. Okay, maybe big initiative, but how to play? Black plants f6, queen g7, something like this. So white need to play precise, because if black will finish development, so pawn up can be important. Okay, but in the game was d4, another very concrete move. Knight takes e5, knight b3, knight g6. So black looks like good, because two bishops, and white cannot sometimes sacrifice on d5, but where? Okay, maybe, but where? It's knight db5 was preferred in Jin. Knight db5, okay. Okay, it's interesting choice. Okay, maybe. f6, knight e4. Okay, not so easy to understand what's the best for black now. Okay, I need to think. So what I would play with black in this position? So my knight is hanging. If f6, f6 knight e4, I am worried. So rook d1, queen e7. But maybe rook d1 after queen e7, knight e4. It's also idea. Okay, I don't know if f6 is only move. So a takes b5, it's also necessary to check. After queen takes e5, okay, so white pawn up, but maybe black has some compensation after, for example, queen d4, bishop takes b5, king f8, maybe. Maybe it's not enough. Also, two bishops somehow. Okay, it's chances for draw. Okay, so a takes b5 is possible, but what else? Knight g6 not possible, because knight c7 check, and black has no square for his king. So bishop d6. Okay, bishop d6 doesn't look pleasant at all. Although there is knight d3 threat, but queen h5 instead of queen d4. You mean here queen h5? Okay, check. Queen h5 check. In which moment? Queen h5 check. So d4 probably not the best move at all. So bishop takes e3, g takes, and queen c7. It looks like very serious alternative. Also, it's possible to consider this slide and play f6 and take, try to finish development. Castle d4. Long castle was possible. Yes, okay, but it's not not an, yes, knight b, but certainly both long castle and knight db5 looks like more aggressive than knight b3 what Hikaru played. But okay, for some reason he played this. Knight g6. Queen f3 and bishop a7 played Etienne. It wasn't necessary to allow bishop a6, so it looks like black is totally okay after even bishop b6, for example. So, but Etienne gave the pawn. Now white at least bishop c8, rook. What is this? Where bishop c8? I don't understand. In which moment bishop c8? I don't understand. In which moment black can play bishop c8. So queen h4, queen g3, queen h6. Pawn up. When black played d4, yes. Black played d4, so my proposition, bishop takes e3, g takes f4, and queen c7. So d4 is possible, but my proposition is this. Okay, I'm not pretty sure about this, but at least I don't see clear refutation. So castle, knight d e5, rook, king b1, rook f8. So idea to prepare f6. Okay, so, but in the game, black has compensation, and now they repeat moves and agree to go. Okay, what else? What happened? Was happened today? H4 in inaccuracy. Okay, maybe, but what was better than H4? So, if H4 was inaccuracy, what is your proposition? Rook d1 or something like this? Maybe rook d1. Looks like logical move. Let f5, for example. Knight d2. Okay, it's complicated, but to prepare long castle, okay, maybe, but it's not an easy move. Black has even bishop d2, bishop d4, so it's unclear position. But okay, for example, frankly speaking, I don't see big reason to play bishop a7 if black can play without giving the pawns. And position is totally normal after bishop b6, for example, why he gave the pawn. So there are many questions. Okay, so how many games left for today? Dubov played with somebody. Who played Dubov? Dubov won against Gamer. Oparin Fedosey. So it was long preparation. So it's the theoretical line, well known. I don't know where theory ended. Knight d6. I don't know if king e7 main move or king f8 is better. So maybe king f8 is possible here. But after king f8, probably anyway, knight takes b7, if bishop b6, knight a4, something like this. But bishop d4, so it's not clear for me. But okay, so surely it was some long preparation, so king f8 need to be checked. Frankly speaking, king f8 is even more natural move than... yes, knight takes f5 and what? And, yes, I'm giving chess lessons somewhere. And what is now? Knight d3 or what? Rook c5. Rook c5. Bishop b6, rook takes d5. Knight e7, rook d7, something like this. And what? If knight c6, knight c4. Okay, white has compensation. Okay, so it's possible. Okay, I'm quite available. I have a lot of free time. Okay, so some kind of preparation. I don't know if this position was played before or not, but we'll see. So knight takes b7, bishop d8. If bishop b6, I said knight a4 is idea. And then knight takes b6, rook c7 is threat. It's more or less how I understand chess. So bishop d8, knight takes d8. King takes d8, rook f d1. So, okay, we can... I have free time. It's possible to contact me. Okay, rook fd1, so we can evaluate position, and it's quite obvious that white has very serious compensation for the pawn. Knight c4, knight d6, it looks like unpleasant threat. If knight e7, knight c4 is coming. So yes. And only question what exactly missed Kamer in his preparation, because this position looks dangerous for black. Rook b8, knight c4, g5, knight d6. So hardly before the game Kamer dreamed about this position. He played bishop g6. For me, more natural looks knight h6, also at least develop one piece more. But anyway, rook d4 is possible, so knight on d6, it's unpleasant. Bishop g6, rook d4, knight e7, g4. So g4, what is point? To prevent knight f5, but is it knight f5, g4 mistake? Okay, maybe mistake, but rook a4 looks very natural. Yes, rook a4 is very natural. I'm trying to understand. If knight f5, just take on a7, knight takes d6, e takes d6, and it looks like at least very unpleasant for black. So, but okay, g4, and now, okay, the most natural reaction looks like h5 now to activate rook. I don't know why Kamer didn't play the h5. It's natural move. Rook b6, it's not natural. Rook b6, bishop b5 played double. So what is... knight c6 he wants, but bishop b5, he didn't allow knight c6, and rook e4 is coming. So rook b8, okay, he lost two tempes. Okay, so Okay, so quickly victory by Dubov and probably very bad preparation of gamer. And last game, Oparin Fedoseev, right? Other games I have commented already, right? I hope so. Hare Krishna Shiro, Nakamura Bakrut, Войташек, Grishchuk. So Fedoseev, Oparin. So 90s, 20s. Okay, good night, Sicilian Drake. It's quite late time. I don't know which country you are from, but if you are European, it's Blitz. Sometimes I'm playing Blitz, but not so often. More often in drafts, not in chess. Okay, so last game for today will be Fedoseev Oparin. So e5, bishop c4, d6, theory, d3, a4. It's for me, it's novelty. Mexico. Okay, Mexico. A4 is novelty for me. I don't know what is idea. Okay, just played A4. Knight F6, Bishop G5, also not necessary. It's possible to play H3, something like this. Okay, so Bishop G5, Knight D7, standard idea, which I used against Anand, but in another position. So I played here, Knight D7. I played this idea, Knight B6. Not the same position, but okay, A4 idea somewhere to have bishop A2 probably after knight A5 or knight B6. Okay, but so A3 it's possible alternative. What is black compensation? They are not given D4 and has some freedom for maneuvers. And somewhere I can prepare bishop G5, exchange bishop. Okay, so bishop G5, bishop D2, it's a little bit strange. It looks like white just wasting time. Who was the first popular? Kasparov played knight D2. So I remember Kasparov played against Lothier probably. So knight D2, and idea of Kasparov was after bishop G5, he played queen H5. Here, queen H5. Or H4, no, H4 firstly. Because if immediately queen H5, black has knight H6. Kasparov played H4 and after bishop H6, queen H5. His idea was to provoke G6 and come back to D1 and push H5. So it was idea of Kasparov and he played this against Lothier probably, but I'm not sure it's that against Lothier. Probably against somebody else. But surely Kasparov was white who played H4 and queen H5 with this position. But okay, so Oparin doing something strange, A4 and then bishop G5, bishop D2, castle, knight D5. No, of course not necessary, white can play just castle and after knight B6, for example, H3 because knight takes C4. It's okay, it's possible, but I'm not sure that it's, what is this? Okay, knight d5, knight b6. So this structure from my game against Anand, which I won with black. B4, queen e8. So As I understand this position, black wants to prepare f5, but I don't know why not f5 immediately. Ah, okay, probably he afraid b5 idea, and he wants to have a d8 square for the knight. Understand. So logical idea. Knight on d8, probably better than on b8. b5, knight d8, h4. So white is playing in both flanks, but looks like quite strange strategy. f5, h5, bishop e6. Black is playing very natural moves, and looks like if I ever spoke Alireza Firuzja. Okay, but I cannot tell that I know him well, but okay, if there is such a big interest to him in some of my stream, I can prepare few games of Firuzja and analyze them. And Jean likes, okay, maybe Jean likes, but h6, g6, it's not so clear. Is it strong pawn or weak? In endgame can be weak, so from human point of view, it's okay. Black is playing more or less natural. White is doing something strange. A4, b5, h4, h5. So okay, it's creative, of course, but the question is it really strong? So King d1, he played another strange move. So if to play with king, more natural for me looks king f1 to have g2 pawn defended, because of the king d1, so it looks like collapse for white, because g2 is hanging and not possible to defend. So it's very strange play of Grigori, so because not easy understand what he missed. Okay, after king d4, probably he could play this, but anyway, position doesn't look tempting for white after simple this and this. But now, okay, so everything is hanging, so queen takes g2, very primitive threat, but white has no idea to defend, because if rook g1, rook takes f3 is coming. Okay, maybe rook takes f3 doesn't work, by the way, because queen e2. But okay, so after rook g1, at least queen takes h5. So black has pawn up without any compensation, so even this is possible. I mean, queen takes h5, but probably something more concrete. d5, I'm considering it's also possible. Because my idea, if queen takes d5, rook f3, white has no. It's very simple. Rook f3, it's possible, and after queen e2, rook f4, black's just winning. So yes, it's just a rubbish. So rook g1, but okay. So it's obvious that everything is bad. If rook h2, rook f3, it's idea. If g takes f3, queen g1, black is winning. So it looks like something terrible. Queen d3, c4. So. If queen takes g2, king e2 was hope of Grigori, but okay. So c4, knight e6. So black has everything what they want, so totally losing position for Grigori, and okay, frankly speaking, he played this game very bad. So okay, so Okay, no reason to consider till the end because it's very obvious that white is totally losing. So it's, for me, better choice will be just go to sleep and to wish you good night and thanks for attention and thanks for your subscription. Good night, goodbye, who has day today.